The Pacific Palisades are gone. That is a direct quote from the councilwoman who I interviewed, who represents this area. And you can see behind me the type of devastation. It is home after home that was incinerated by the Palisades fire all around me. However, there are pockets and some lucky residents whose houses survived. For example, this house right across the street looks untouched. You can see this is a neighborhood of white picket fences, and now the community is reeling from this. We are told that recovery will be slow. Of course, the active fires continue, and this area is still closed off to residents. The councilwoman told us there's not a lot to come back to. The air is toxic. The water is unusable. She also told us that the city of Los Angeles did not have the resources alone to fight this fire, and it will not have the resources alone to rebuild and recover. They are urging residents who have lost their homes to register with FEMA immediately so that they can start to access assistance. The other issue she told us here is that many people cannot get fire insurance in this area. It is a wildfire prone area. A lot of insurance companies have refused to cover fire. And so there's either a lack of insurance or under insurance. And as a result, it is not clear how much of the Palisades will be able to rebuild. This is your street.
This is it.
The scenes along 86-year-old Roosevelt Pullum's Altadena Street were apocalyptic as we drove him back to his house today. The sight of its remains overwhelmed him. He recalled where he was when the flames started approaching, working on one of his cars.
This was my lady.
That house was home for nearly 40 years.
That was my peach tree.
As the sun rose this morning over Los Angeles, thick smoke filled the air and the scale of devastation became clear.
Good morning, Robert.
Today,
Luna,
Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert
Angeles
Luna
County.
said the damage was catastrophic.
Some of them look like a bomb was dropped in them, where we will be able to bring in canines and other things to help us hopefully not discover too many fatalities. That's our prayer.
Winds subsided enough Wednesday and overnight to allow firefighters to attack from the sky, dropping water and retardant in the burning hills and mountain ranges that semicircle Los Angeles. But dangerous wildfires continue to burn across LA County.
Let me just say that
today, the city's mayor, Karen Bass, responded to criticism that fire hydrants used to fight the massive Palisades fire ran dry.
The fire hydrants are not constructed to deal with this type of massive devastation, and that the number one problem especially was the fact that we weren't able to do the air support because of the winds. And so, of course, I am absolutely frustrated by that.
Los Angeles Fire Chief Kristen Crowley said extreme fire behavior is still possible.
Today, it is absolutely imperative that as we move into day 3 of this firestorm, all members of our Los Angeles community maintain vigilance.
A new fire Wednesday in the Hollywood Hills forced more mandatory evacuations, but firefighters made headway with the blaze and the order was later lifted. Today, President Biden addressed the fires from Washington.
I also want everyone in Southern California to know we're going to keep at it. We're sticking with this. We're going to continue to sending everything, literally, every resource we can find that's appropriate to help the governor and the first responders.
In Pasadena, the convention center has become a clearinghouse of calamity. This is where hundreds of evacuees of the Eaton fire ended up when they had nowhere else to go.
As far as I know, my house is totally engulfed based on the fact that on both ends of the streets, both of the houses were on fire.
Nakia Rhodes and her 2 daughters among them. They had little time to flee and no warning.
I could see flames rolling down the hills. I could see it rolling up the hills. I could see them going left. I could see them going right. I seen everything the wind was doing to the fire. And I'm wondering, why isn't anyone telling us to evacuate? You know?
It sounds like you have reason for some frustration at officials right now.
I do. They failed me twice. They failed me by not telling me to leave my house with my daughter and my little baby, and nobody's telling me anything except for there's a cot in the other room.
17-year-old Destiny is a senior at Pasadena High School.
Since the power was out, we had no way to see. Like, we couldn't look it up on our phones because we had no power and no internet.
Yeah,
and
we couldn't watch the news.
We couldn't watch the news. So we had no idea what was happening, and all we saw was fire and red.
Longtime Altadena residents Patty and Bruce Brown have survived previous wildfire scares, but this one was different.
We always rode it out. This time it was different because we had to leave. It's the first time we've ever been to a shelter in our life.
They were able to save their dog, Captain, but they don't yet know how their beloved and one-of-a-kind house fared.
So we live in a house built from 1936 to 1941 by industrial arts teachers, so it's all handmade. All the light fixtures, everything in it are all handmade. So if it burns down, you can't replace it.
Back at the burnt-out shell that was Roosevelt Pullum's house, he sifts through still smoldering ashes. He left his wallet around here.
All my things for driving, my VA healthcare ID card.
He has insurance, but worries that it may not be enough to rebuild in an area where home prices have skyrocketed since he and his late wife first moved in. For Pullum, like so many, starting over here may not be an option. For now, he's staying at the convention center, and he's far from alone. The Korean War vet calls himself a survivor.
I've been through a lot, and that's all I kept thinking. I can get through this, and that's what I'm thinking now.
Here in Altadena, you can see that conditions have improved since I was here 24 hours ago. The smoke has somewhat cleared. You can still smell it in the air, but you're starting to see some blue sky. You're also continuing to see flames like the ones behind me and smoldering wreckage. This area is still completely closed to residents, many of whom have tried to go back to their houses but have been turned away. They did, however, let media come through this area to assess the damage today. We drove throughout the streets. There were some streets where all of the houses on a block would be burned down, but across the street, houses would remain intact. Sadly, I have to report that Nakia Rhodes' duplex is just across the street from where I'm standing. We introduced you to her in the piece, and her suspicions did turn out to be correct. There is no structure there standing, including her home and everything in it. Jeff?
And Steph, I know you've spoken to dozens of people who've had to evacuate, people who've lost their homes. What are the immediate challenges for them moving forward?
The challenges are immense, Jeff, because people who live in LA will say this. Wildfires, when they hit houses, are kind of like earthquakes. You have little to no warning. And so we have spoken to a lot of people who lost their homes, did not get an emergency alert text on their phone, and only fled when they had to, when the flames and sparks were upon them. And so they had the clothes on their backs. In some cases, like Roosevelt, who you met in the piece, they didn't have time to get their wallet or even a phone. And so they are navigating insurance companies, trying to book hotels, trying to get cash out of the bank. Roosevelt is an 86-year-old heart patient who has medication needs, and he can't get the prescriptions filled. And so that is what people are facing. And a lot of folks have come up to us and wondered, where are the FEMA officials? Where can we get help? What do we do? We've never been through this before. So a ton of challenges.
How disruptive have the fires been for the rest of LA County broadly?
These major fires are positioned in sort of a semicircle around Los Angeles. So you have the fire on the coast up there in the Palisades, and then you have this fire in the San Gabriel Valley, which is inland, and in between you have the Hollywood Hills, which were in flames yesterday, and those have been put out. But as a result, Hollywood production companies and studio lots have been closed. Many school districts, including Los Angeles Dallas Unified, which is the second largest school district in the country, was shut down today. Traffic is snarled in many areas here in Altadena. Streets are closed. They have even postponed award ceremonies and considering postponing some major sporting events here. So it is quite disruptive for many Angelenos.
And at this hour, how much have the current major fires been contained?
The way that officials described it in an earlier press conference is they have been able to stall forward progress of the flames. In other words, the fires aren't growing rapidly, but they are still burning out of control, and there is 0% containment in the major fires that we've been talking about. The Eaton Canyon fire, which is where I am, and the Palisades fire, which continues to burn. So tens of thousands of people remain under evacuation orders here.
Stephanie Sy reporting tonight from Altadena, California. Stephanie, our thanks to you and your team there.
Thank you.
My aunt is missing, and we're not sure where she is. The padlock is on her gate, but there's no house. So we have to look through the rubble to see if she's there.
Did you see the clip of Caruso calling in and telling I can't remember what station it was, but Caruso calls into a news station and he was like, guys, I'm looking at the firefighters in the Palisades. The fire hydrants have no water in them.
Yeah, they don't.
They have no water.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how are we supposed... This should never happen here. And then he hangs up and the host goes, just so everybody knows, we've got no reports of there not being water in the hydrants. And then they click to their person on the ground, and the person on the ground goes, hey, so we're hearing from firefighters that there's no water in the hydrants. It was the craziest back and forth.
I have a buddy who lost his house. His name is Jeff. And he, yesterday at 12 o'clock, his house was still up. And he called the fire department saying, hey, I'm seeing that it's getting closer. And their response to him was, we don't have water.
Yeah.
And sure enough, 4 hours later, his house was gone.
Yeah. So Governor Newsom last night, they asked him about the water and why the water wasn't in the reservoirs and how this mismanagement happened. This to me is a mismanagement. This one, I think leadership is entirely to blame for. And he was like, look, this is a local issue. Like, I don't know.
Oh my God. This shit is crazy. This literally looks like hell. Oh my God. You've got to be kidding me. And this like got so much worse in just like an hour or two. You've got to be kidding me. I'm literally leaving now. Look at this. It was not like this 2 hours ago, guys. Alright, stay safe. This is crazy. Alright.
Like we're literally like on the Universal Studios set. Whole neighborhood is just gone.
Oh my Messies, that was horrible to listen to. Some of the residents returning back to their neighborhoods with just finding shells of their homes. And there has been, as I stated, some fatalities in some of the cities as well. I didn't want to show some of the clips where it's a little too graphic of how some family members said that they had found their family members. Continued prayers to the residents of California that are affected by these wildfires. I am hoping that the governor and the president can get together and come to some type of extreme emergency where they can help the displaced residents, find temporary housing, whether it's trailers or, as I stated, some of the resorts owners in different places have offered, temporary shelter for some of the victims, and insurance companies different places that these people need to have resources. I'm hoping that the president can also put into effect something that would be able to expedite medication, replacement of vital statistics like birth certificates, driver's license, food resources, clothing. Children are displaced from schools. Whole schools were destroyed in the fires. Children will not be able to go to school. If they'll need some type of internet and equipment like computers, laptops, so that they can be somewhere housed to attend school after this is over. It's a lot of things that needs to be done. I'm hoping that all the government officials in the state of California, along with the president, can come to a plan. Someone needs to derive a plan to help these misplaced women, men, and children. Also, there's recovery going on. As you heard, a lot of people were not alerted. There was no water in some of the fire hydrants. Because of the winds, they had to hold off with the overhead plane. Water and retardant drops over some of the affected areas. They had to wait until the wind subsided. Mass devastation on many levels that this escaped. It got out of hand. It was many causes, many factors. There's no one to blame. There's no one thing to blame it on, except for the one that was going around and setting these fires intentionally. That was horrible for them to even do that. That was, I don't even know why would you want to cause more devastation? Again, our prayers are going up for the residents in the state of California. I'm thanking God for the first responders that are volunteering to come to the area to assist. FEMA, we need you on site. Red Cross, we need you on site. All the pharmacies and your DMVs and places like that, please, when these residents call in to have their vitals and things like that replaced, medication replaced, don't give a lot of pushback. Show some empathy. Be kind. Be considerate. Think about if it was you. Think about if you had lost your home, you had lost everything. You don't have any identification. You're looking for a kind word. You're looking for someone to understand and listen to you. So please, everybody put something in place at these places that you know that the pharmacies, the DMVs, food banks, hotels, resorts, places, everybody, let's hand in hand do something together. I'm sure, like I stated, there'll be donation sites where we can probably give to assist everybody. If you can't do anything else, just pray. Just be prayerful. Just be prayerful, okay? Again, our prayers go out to the victims and all those involved. Prayers to the first responders that are assisting, the firefighters. Let's pray that our president and the government officials there in the state of California come to some type of resolve, some type of emergency plan is put in place to assist these misplaced people, these displaced people. Until next time, Messies, I love you all and God bless. Smooches.